So after I posted last week's video about buying discounted notes from banks, I was asked to do one on foreclosure notes. These can be bought on the cheap also, relatively speaking, and I'm going to be showing you how. So that's what this video is going to be about, and I'll be giving you practical steps here that I personally seen work. I think you just might like this. So there are always a certain number of loans that are going into default, and these become non-performing. So the bank is not collecting on these at all, and a lot of the time they sell off these notes because they want them off their books. Now, a lot of the time we're looking at sale prices like 40 to 60% off face value. Now, there was one in Ohio I looked at recently with an $80,000 balance that sold for something like $35,000. That's really not so unusual. We saw a spike in foreclosures last year of, I think, around 6%, which is actually a pretty big number. And I've got to believe more are coming because rates are up now in 2025. I mentioned that in my last video when I started in the note business in the mid to late 90s. The secondary mortgage market hit right around $28 billion, and foreclosures made up a big piece of that, same as now. So the thing is, if you buy these right, you're looking at big returns. Now, you can either rework the loan or sell it outright. Okay, so I'm going to be getting into the steps involved. Step one is you want to check the county records. You can track the foreclosures in every county. It's all a matter of public record, and a lot of the time the information's online. You check the county website or call if you need to so that you know where to access these records. You're looking for lists, pendants, or notice of default filings. This is where you take note of the properties in foreclosure and they're tied to notes that you can target. What you're doing here is going right to the source, or taking it right to the hoop, as they say in basketball. I like to filter for homes with loans between $50,000 and $200,000, generally speaking. In my experience, banks tend to sell these off faster. Even if you spend as little as 15 minutes searching, you might find, say, 3 to 5 leads. You could start right there. No need to make it complicated. Just be ready to follow through if you're a serious player. So, step two is you want to reach out to the lenders who are holding the notes. Could be either a bank or a private lender. So in order to do this, you check the filing for the name. If you need to, you can call the county to confirm the name. And then what you do is you call the Special Assets Desk. Now, if you saw my video last week on non-performing notes, I gave you kind of a script to follow, okay, when making these calls. But the first thing you want to say to them is, I'm interested in your non-performers, and then give the address of the particular foreclosure property on the filing. Ask them what the balance is and whether they can sell. Now, once I offered $45,000 on, I believe, a $100,000 note. It had been listed for around $55,000, and I offered a little less, and it closed pretty quickly, kind of a rare, fast deal. I do want to emphasize that results are going to vary, but I want to give you an idea of the potential here when you put in the effort. Now, in my experience, banks do listen if you project confidence and you're serious. So, step three. This is where you reach the negotiation stage, which will lead you to the potential close. You might offer 40 to 50% of the balance on the note. You can say to them, hey, I can pay $40,000 cash today for that $100,000 note. And when you're discussing these types of transactions, you need to keep in mind that lenders want quick deals. And if they think you're not serious, they aren't likely to want to deal with you in the future, so you want to make sure that you have your funding lined up, be ready to transact. Rates climbing in 2025 mean more foreclosures and more notes, so if you time this well, you can take advantage. Now, my first foreclosure deal came from a county tip. I quoted low, the bank said yes, I made a really solid profit flipping it. Although results are going to vary. Not every deal is a home run, but the process works. So checklist in hand, no guesswork. That's how you build. So there's your plan. Foreclosure notes are out there if you're willing to dig and you play it smart. Like I said, deals like this depend on timing and effort. Results are going to vary, and you should know also I have a fairly extensive list of tips like this one. Real practical strategies at my website, noteinvestors.com. There's a link below in the description, and if you happen to be just starting out in the note business, I wouldn't necessarily recommend starting with non-performers. Rather, I would start by flipping performing notes that are seller financed. This is how I started using other people's money. My program will get you started doing that. There's a link below to that also. And I have more tips coming up next week. Subscribe so you don't miss anything. Thanks, and I hope you're glad you stopped by.